This is an actual training from our Las Vegas Mastermind event for our playing clientele within the Mastermind. We have our next event coming up, which is in November in Dubai on the Palm, which is the 9th and 10th, Friday and Saturday. If you want the secrets to blow up your fitness business, we are going to be teaching you some bombshell stuff, in particular how to double your business over Black Friday alone. So hit the link below this video. You can get tickets now for the event. We have a maximum sit-in of 10 people who can sit in the room. Now enjoy the training.
So most of you probably don't know who I am. I'm new to Charlie's world. I do the majority of my coaching for Craig Ballantyne. I actually got the opportunity to coach Charlie, so that was fun. And I'm going to start off with something and provide almost zero context to you. I'm going to start off with a video. For lack of a better explanation, this is a video of me getting my ass kicked on New Year's Eve in 2005. I'm Canadian, so I obviously played hockey. And the only context I'll give you, I know it's a grainy video, but 2005, come on. I'm the goalie wearing the dark jersey. My last name is McHale. You're going to hear that a lot on the broadcast. It's about a 30-second video. And the other goalie, who's right here in this section, his last name is Shire. You're going to hear that name a lot. Okay? So about 30 seconds. Bear with me, and you'll understand why I'm doing this in a second.
On the puck on the power play, gets the right side, and will be set down low by Sauer, and then it gets struck down, and we got Collins playing it away. Light ball. We had a light ball. Collins and Brett was on the receiving end and started throwing it. We got Golan involved. We got Kornacek involved.
This is where I made my first bad decision.
Bottom of the pile with Sauer. McHale's looking to get into it. Shire's in the blue line. Well, we could get goalies before it's over. They're going to get Shire to it. Shire's coming. There's the goalie sticking. We got everybody now. They're coming after McHale. The goalies are going in the goalie. Sashi Golik's doing well in the fight behind the net. The Scambler taking. Oh, shot it from the big right. Ryan McHale. Another right. Another one. Down goes McHale.
Down goes McHale. So I was 17 years old, and up to this point, I was on the verge of having everything I thought I ever wanted. This was like my NHL draft year. And I orchestrated a complete meltdown over the course of one hockey season. And so to set up the context of this, essentially what happened was this led to a cascade of events of being traded, of more issues with coaches and issues with teammates and all that stuff that essentially led to the demise of my hockey career. So basically what I want to do today is take you on the journey from this kid who couldn't get his mind right and essentially led to his own demise to the person who gets to stand up here and talk to you today about mindset. Okay? It just so happens that we're going to talk about unconscious and conscious, and I got knocked unconscious, so that's helpful in the context of the presentation. We don't need to watch that again. Okay, 3 traits of the ultra successful. So Alex Hormozi has made this very popular over recent months and years, and you'll probably resonate with some of these, but I want to take you through this to set up this presentation. So 3 traits of the ultra successful. Notice how on here there is no like waking up at 5 a.m. or meditating for hours or anything like that. These are the 3 traits that the most successful people all shared in common. Okay, so the first one, superiority complex. The most successful people in the world are delusional. Okay, they believe they can accomplish great things. They are chasing something that is bigger than what most people are chasing. Okay, the second thing is they have impulse control. Okay, you've probably heard a lot of people say it, a lot of my mentors have said, don't step over dollars to pick up dimes. They're willing to stay focused on the long-term goal for a longer period, right? Whether that be stay focused for hours in a day, for days in a week, for months, for quarters, for years, for decades. They can stay focused and control their impulses. And then the third one, in massive, like totally the opposite of the first one, is they have a massive insecurity and fear of failure. Okay? So they have this big delusional thing that they're chasing, and then behind them chasing them, they have a insecurity and a fear of failure. It's not necessarily a bad thing if we can harness it in the right way, right? And most of us, I know I did, started our businesses probably from a place of fear. Okay? Even if it was fear of not wanting to work a 9 to 5. That's okay. Can we harness it? And it's really important to recognize that this is not a have or have not. We've all got things inside of us. That's why you're in this room. Okay? It's how much do you have? Right? So we don't necessarily want more insecurity and fear of failure, but how much of that can you use as fuel? How much impulse control? How long can you delay gratification? And then also, how delusional can you be about how big your dreams are? Okay? So let's bring it back to my hockey story for a second. Like I said, consciously, when I was a kid, my goal was to make the NHL. That's all I wanted to do, play professional hockey. But really what I wanted to do is I wanted to be rich and I wanted to be famous. Okay? That's what we all want, right? But unconsciously, underneath the surface, I hated it. I was miserable. I was away from home. I was away from friends and family. I was away from the girlfriend that I thought was the love of my life. So behind this like shiny curtain of playing junior hockey in Seattle, away from home, a chance to play professional hockey, behind that curtain was this like very unhappy kid who was literally doing everything else, or doing everything for somebody else to try and impress people, to try and get people to like me because I thought I was supposed to, right? I see a few nods happening here. I think some people are resonating with this, right? But the problem is that this was all unconscious. I didn't recognize that this was happening, right? I couldn't consciously recognize it. And this quote really sums up my journey, which is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And this comes from Carl Jung, who's like the godfather of modern psychology. And when I first heard this, it absolutely punched me in the face. Because my journey to here today, from that place where you just saw me getting my face bashed in, was making the unconscious conscious, making those limiting beliefs, and that's what we're going to talk about, the things that weren't serving me, making them conscious, bringing them to the surface, becoming aware of them so that I could work on them. And that's what I want to do with you today. I want this to be an interactive thing. I want you guys to be taking notes and actually doing this for yourself. You're not going to get out of this by like taking a few notes and then going for lunch. I really want you to take a limiting belief today and turn that into a belief that serves you. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So what are we going to go through? Why this work matters, and you'll see why I'm actually explaining that in a second. Uncovering the beliefs that aren't serving you. I call these your emergency brakes. Right? You can soup up the Ferrari all you want, but if you got the emergency brake on, it's not going anywhere. Right? Learning how you can actually change these beliefs, like learning the process and what needs to happen in your brain. I won't take too long on that stuff. And then I'm going to give you action steps to actually bust your beliefs. To bust the beliefs that aren't serving you, to replace them with better ones that are going to serve you and serve your business long term. Are you guys cool with that? You guys are okay with making more money and all that good stuff? Okay, cool. So is this worth it? So when I first learned this stuff, I was presented with this stuff. I was like, yeah, that's cool, thanks. But can we just skip over that and get to the Instagram stuff and like the Facebook and like the sales stuff that I really care about? And it wasn't, somehow the TV just turned on back there. I'm really not sure what happened, but whoa. I don't know what happened there. It is my magic show, actually. Yeah, so I was like, we are going to do some magic as well. I was like, I don't care about this stuff. Like, yeah, it seems pretty cool, but I don't care about this. Let's get to like the nuts and bolts of it, right? And it wasn't until I got all the nuts and bolts, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute, and none of it was working for me the way that it should have been working for me. That's when I realized, oh, this is the missing piece. So Tim Ferriss talks about it in Tools of the Titans. If you guys haven't heard of the book, it's essentially a recap of all of his interviews with like the most influential people in the world. And one of the things he says is that 80% of those people have some sort of a daily mindfulness technique. And what we're going to do today is mindfulness. It doesn't need to be meditation, visualization, that stuff's good. But what we're going to do today is a form of mindfulness. It's just intentional thinking, going inside of yourself, okay? And this was the thing that really hit me, that almost every guest has been able to take obvious weaknesses and turn them into a competitive advantage. If you want to put your brain in a pretzel, me standing up here today talking to you about mindset is me taking a weakness that led to the end of my hockey career, that led to me getting my face punched in, and turning it into a competitive advantage, something that I coach people on. Okay? Also, Dan Kennedy, who is like the GOAT of marketing, and he's a best-selling author. A lot of like my mentors learned from him. Says the failure to act is often the product of inner emotional resistance. It's not something external. It's not the algorithm. It's not the LinkedIn stuff. It's not bad sales script. It's inner emotional resistance. And to move forward, you must give up your excuses. Do not capitulate to external resistance. Resolve your own internal resistance. That's exactly what we're going to do today. Okay? So fast forward 10 years from the video you saw, and it's like 2015, 2016, and I'm a personal trainer in the gym, doing what we've all done, working way too many hours for not enough money, right? And I wanted to do this new cool thing called online training, okay? It was just becoming a cool thing. Some people were doing it. Some people were making good money. No one really knew what was going on. Essentially, I wanted to work a little less and make a little more. Right? And I saw other people that I knew I was as good as or better than making tons of money online and barely working. And I'm like, well, I should be able to do that. Logically, I should be able to do that. I'm a really good coach. I get really good results. Should be able to do it. So I hired coaches. I got the best tactics and strategies, social media, email marketing, copywriting, sales. I got it all. Everything I needed. I paid for it. I got it. But it wasn't working for me. I could have written the textbook on how to run a sales call or how to write an email, or this is the hook, this is the headline. I could have logically and theoretically gotten you the info you needed, but it wasn't working for me. Okay? And just like the hockey story, me being punched in the face, me not being able to build my business, even though I was seeing other people do the same stuff and build their business, was life trying to show me what I really thought of myself. It was trying to show me the beliefs that weren't serving me, but it was unconscious, right? I couldn't bring it to the surface, so I just kept repeating the same patterns, right? And this is, big picture, this is the same pattern as my hockey career, right? My hockey career going really well. Logically, on paper, I'm a slam dunk, right? But then in practice, it doesn't happen. Here, I graduated first in my class. I should have been like this, really, really well-known, high-earning personal trainer, but I couldn't make it work. I couldn't put the pieces together because my mindset was holding me back, okay? So I want to start with this for you guys. I want you guys to grab a pen and paper or empty Google Doc, whatever it is, and I want you to start thinking about your unconscious story. Okay, so the first question I have for you is, what were the major inflection points in your life? So maybe these were positive inflection points, maybe they were negative, but what were the points in your life, maybe moments, situations where everything changed after that, right? Where it was just like a totally new reality. Another thing is, did you have any moments where life punched you in the face, or maybe where another large human being on skates punched you in the face? Did you have any moments like that? Okay, so this could be a relationship. Maybe it's a bad breakup or something. Could be losing someone important to you. Maybe, you were fired. Maybe you were stolen from. I've worked with people. I worked with a guy who he had built these two incredibly successful businesses, and both times he was embezzled by his accountant. And he couldn't figure out why this third business, why he was struggling to get it past a certain level and not taking action. It was like, well, your subconscious mind is trying to protect you from the fact that every time you get past a certain level, someone steals from you, right? Our brains make that into a rule. It's like, well, if you get past here, you're going to get stolen from, so don't do it, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to, again, make the unconscious conscious. Let's bring awareness to some of these stories, and then we're going to work through the emergency brakes and things like that. Has everyone got a couple of things down in terms of inflection points? Is there any questions on it? Cool. Okay. So here's the good part. You can train your brain to actually become more conscious. This is a learnable skill. Okay? So what most of us weren't taught is that our subconscious brain, the part that actually directs all the traffic, is 95 to 98% of your brain. the beliefs, the habits, the emotions, the identity of who you think you are in the world runs the show. Okay? And the logical brain, the conscious brain, the reasoning, the decision making, the way you got here is 2 to 5% of your brain. Okay? And I'm going to get real woo-woo on you for a second. If you're in this room, that means that we're supposed to be in this room right now, and what got you here will not get you to the next level. So if there's a next level you want to reach, this is your sign from the universe to change what you're doing. Because your logical brain, right? I want you to think about this like 2 to 5 horses, right? Okay, logically, okay, we want to go in this direction. That's awesome. Here we go. 5 horses ready to run. But the 95 horses, if they're not ready to go in that direction and they just sit down and say, nah, we're good, we're cool, we're just going to chill here, you're not going to go there. We have to get everything moving in the right direction. And there's a great book called The Ant and the Elephant, and he talks about how the subconscious brain is like an elephant and the conscious brain is like an ant on the elephant's back, right? That ant can run any direction it wants to run, but if the elephant is moving in the wrong direction, it doesn't matter. The ant is still going to move in that direction. So we have to get the 95 horses, we have to get the elephant moving in the right direction. When you do that, guys, when you get your subconscious brain, when you release the emergency brake and get your subconscious brain moving in the right direction, everything you touch will turn to gold. I'm telling you right now, I've done this presentation a few times. I've done this coaching with people. In the next week or two, at least a handful of you are going to be like, that tall, weird dude from Canada, I don't know what he did, but something changed. I guarantee it. Because I've seen it happen too many times. So hopefully that's you. So let's take the next step here, right? The emergency brake. So I talked to you guys about souping up the Ferrari, right? With the emergency brake on. So as I started to do more of this work, okay, I realized that there was a few beliefs that were instilled in me as a child that were probably instilled in most of you as a child. And I use these examples to kind of start your brain moving in the right direction for this stuff, okay? Most of your subconscious beliefs are instilled in your brain from the time that you are 0 to 7, okay? And it's not necessarily what people say, but it's kind of like what's insinuated, right? It's like the way they act and the way society is and all these things, right? So I realized that what was holding me back, first of all, was a middle-class mindset. How many of you guys heard from your parents that money doesn't grow on trees? Money is actually paper, and it actually does grow on trees. So I'm just saying. So we all heard that money doesn't grow on trees. I heard from my parents, God bless them, they were great, still are great. My dad was a cop, my mom was a teacher, right? Some very safe, secure jobs, right? So I was always taught safe, secure. Go safe, secure, get a good pension, get good holidays, right? That's what you got to do. Well, now and then at the end, you're going to get this carrot that is you don't have to work anymore. They're going to continue to pay you and you don't have to work anymore. It's retirement, right? My dad's about 2 years into retirement, no clue what to do with himself. He's like, he's like painting his house 3 times a year. He has no clue what to do with himself, right? That's besides the point. So middle-class mindset was you need to work hard to make your money, and you're probably not going to like what you're doing, but you know what? It's good because you're safe, you're secure, and you're going to get a pension. Well, hockey for me was easy. That's why I did it and kept doing it. Training people was easy. Training people online, I just have to make programs and that's all I gotta do. That was even easier. So you can see how this didn't align with the belief that was instilled in me, that making money should be hard and I probably won't like it. This stuff was easy. I liked it, right? I had deep-rooted fears of being made fun of and of failing. Well, what happens when you're rich and famous and you do something stupid? Everybody knows about it, right? Your failures are more public. You're made fun of regularly because people don't understand you, right? You can see why me becoming rich and famous didn't align with this. I had limiting beliefs. Who was I? Who am I? I was an imposter. I'm just some kid who's pretty good at this thing, right? Probably a lot of you have felt imposter syndrome in some ways. This is a big one that probably a lot of you guys are going to align with. A negative mindset about being wealthy. I was brought up to think that rich people got rich in 3 ways. They did some shady shit, they were a trust fund baby and they got all their money given to them, or they worked so much that their family hated them. All three of those things didn't align with the type of person I wanted to be. So with that belief of what it meant to be wealthy or what you had to do to be wealthy, I would have had to hate myself if I was going to be wealthy. Yet it was the thing that I wanted. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to make more money. Right? But the subconscious belief, the belief under the surface, was the opposite of that. So we can see how these things that get instilled in us and we don't ever think to check on totally direct us in the wrong direction or in a different direction from what our logical brain wants, our conscious brain wants. Okay? So let me take you through why this works, and then we're going to go the layer deeper and really try and figure out what are these limiting beliefs you have about yourself so we can change them. Okay? So winners and losers are not unique in their goals. Okay? The goals you set that hopefully you reach are the same goals that people set that aren't going to reach, right? How many people probably set a goal that they want to make $1 million in 2023, right? And how many people won't, right? The difference between people who get what they want, winners, we'll call them, ultra successful, and losers, or people who don't get what they want, the difference is in the actions they take and the habits they create, okay? It's not in the goals that they set. So if we want to take different actions, how do we work that back? Well, here's how. So every action you take comes from an emotional place. This is just the way that our brains are wired. We are emotional beings. If you've ever done any sales trainings with Corby, people buy on emotion. We also take action on emotion, right? And those emotions come from a belief you have about yourself, about the world, about your place in the world. Okay? So what happens is an event happens. Guys, every event is neutral. All events are neutral. It is the belief that you apply to the event that actually makes it mean something. So event happens, the belief is applied, and that makes us feel an emotion. That emotion then drives action. Okay, so let's go back to my hockey story. I was losing lots of games, I was letting in lots of goals, I was essentially failing. Okay, that's the event. The belief I applied in that moment was that failure means I'm not good enough. Okay, you guys have heard of fixed mindset versus growth mindset? The fixed mindset is like, I'm performing on a stage, and if I don't perform well, that means I'm not good enough. That's what I had, right? So failure means I'm not good enough. That led me to feel an emotion of anger and frustration. I was pissed off. I'm not good enough, right? And unworthiness, right? So the action was giving up on myself, giving up on my teammates, starting fights when I had no business to start fights, right? So we can see this is what we call a vicious cycle of behavior. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? I don't think that I'm good enough, so I go and do things that make me not feel good enough, right? Let's take the same event, letting in lots of goals, losing lots of games, and let's apply a different belief. So if I applied the belief that failure equals feedback, right? That changes my emotion to probably something like curiosity, right? I would feel curious. So if I'm failing a lot, that means there's feedback happening and I should probably learn from that, right? So the action I take is probably I'm going to hire a sports psychologist, or I'm going to ask my coaches for help with video, or maybe just do some more training, whatever, right? This is a virtuous cycle of behavior because I'm giving myself a chance to get out of this spiral. Does that make sense? And all that changed here was not any of this, it was this that created the change in this, okay? So I'm going to show you, this is why I have a pot of boiling water on here. I promise there's a reason I have a weird picture of boiling water on here. So what most people do is that when the pot of water is boiling over, I don't know how many of you cook. Charlie just told us not to cook, so maybe you guys don't. So when the pot of boiling water is boiling over, the quick thing to do is take the lid off, right? But the pot's still boiling and the water's still boiling over if you have too much water, right? Okay? What a lot of people do, I'll give you a great fitness example. I love potato chips, okay? Love potato chips. Probably a lot of you guys do too. If you have a client who wants to lose 10 pounds and they know their main problem is potato chips, right? They snack on potato chips at night, they eat way too many. If they're like me, they don't have a bowl, they have a bag. And so they go, okay, I'm going to change my action. I'm going to remove the potato chips from my house. And then I'm going to pray to whatever God that I believe in that I cannot eat potato chips anymore. But what happens when there's a huge bowl of potato chips at a party that they're at, and they haven't had potato chips for 6 weeks? See you later, potato chips, okay? Because they haven't changed their belief around it. Their belief is still, I can't control myself around potato chips. I am not a healthy person. I don't have healthy habits, right? So when the belief is still one that doesn't serve them, as soon as they get put back into that environment, they go back into the behavior, right? But what if they change their belief to, I'm becoming healthier. I'm learning to control myself around potato chips, right? That makes the action so much easier because it changes your emotion around it, right? It's like, oh, well, there's some chips here. I'll just have I'll put a few in my bowl and that's fine, right? So it's all about changing the belief. And when we do this work, we don't just take the lid off the pot, we turn the element off and we move the pot off the element that actually stops the boiling water. Right? You see how going a couple layers deeper allows us to make bigger changes. And this is why when so many people get great results, they go, I don't know what the hell you did, but I'm getting all these great results. And it's because they changed their beliefs. They took the emergency brake off and they allowed the engine that they've built. You guys, if you guys are working with Charlie, you've got a good engine. You've got the right tactics and strategies and all these good things. All we have to do is take the emergency brake off. So if we do that today, just wait, see what happens, okay? So let's go that layer deeper, okay? Let's talk about your emergency brakes and the things that are holding you back. I want to just give you guys a warning here that you're going to have to go deeper than you probably have, and it might feel weird. That's because it's your subconscious mind, and that's okay. All right? So when life punched you in the face, or when that inflection point happened, what did you make that mean? This is a really important point. Our brains are programmed to protect us. So if something happens and then something that we don't like takes place, our brain goes, okay, we're making that a rule. Okay, like my client who got embezzled. Every time you make more than $1 million, you're going to get embezzled from. So don't make $1 million. Right? And our brains are really good at making us believe that thing like it's a fact. So when life punched you in the face, what did you make that mean? When you were bullied in grade 7 and left out of the group, did you make that mean I need to then just let go of my ethics and morals so that people will like me? Right? What did you make it mean about yourself? Okay? This next question is a really good one. What is something you know you can do or something you want to do before you die, but you haven't yet? I was asked this question a couple of years ago at an event. And I said something like, I want to fly my family on private planes to Bora Bora and stay in one of those sweet huts over the water, right? And then the question was, well, why haven't you done it? And I wrote out a bunch of logical, conscious things, right? Well, I don't have a family yet, all this stuff, right? Then when it got to oh, let's keep going, what came up, and I still remember writing these words and going, holy shit. I don't deserve it yet. What? Who decides who deserves it? And then we can recognize, oh, the why is what I really think about. This is my unconscious belief about myself. I don't deserve to fly private and go to Bora Bora and do this stuff. That doesn't make any sense logically, but our subconscious brain is creating rules to keep us safe. Okay, and then another really, really powerful question is, what did your parents teach you about money? That you just took as truth, and you're like, oh shit, oops, right? So I'll give you guys a couple minutes here. I'm gonna keep moving with some more questions, but I want you guys to be writing and thinking about this because we're gonna essentially create a belief that we can work through together. Okay, so if you're not taking notes, get on it. We have a small group here, so we can actually work through things together. Okay? So are there actions that you're taking or not taking that are out of alignment with who you want to be, that are out of alignment with your core set of values? Right? The things that piss you off about yourself. God, I did it again. Or I didn't do it again. Another week went by and I didn't do the thing. right? And then when you take those actions or don't take those actions that are out of alignment with who you want to be, with that long-term vision, what's the devil on your shoulder saying? Right? Great example of this is like the people who like know that they got to send some DMs to like get people moving forward, but they don't. Right? Is the devil on your shoulder coming in and saying, well, doesn't matter, they're not going to move forward, you're a crappy coach anyways, you don't get good results, and no one enrolls with you anyways, and you're not a good salesperson, so it doesn't matter. Right? Like what is the voice in your head repeating when you continue to do those things that frustrate you? Yeah, we're going, I can feel the energy in here. You guys are like, God, man, you're making me feel like shit. Sorry, not sorry. Charlie, do you remember what came up for you when we did this? Do you remember what the belief was?
My belief was like, you can handle it.
Yes. Right, the goalposts kept moving on you. Yeah, so it's like, I have to do these external things to be happy, right? So you also put it on your mirror. Right, right. I sometimes pull those out when we're on calls. I don't remember what I said, but. So, and I'll go through what we did with Charlie too, and how Charlie was able to, because the cool thing is he can barely remember it because he made the shift. He made the shift into something different, right? So what we're going to do now is you probably got a few notes here, a few things that you've written down, okay? Like I said, our brains will then take these things and make them fact, right? So it's going to be like an I am or an I'm not or an I can't, right? And our subconscious brain is like a third grader. So it's very much black and white. There's no gray area. It's very matter of fact, yes or no, black or white, right? So it's not like, you may have like a longer thing about kind of like explaining this and what happened with the emergency brakes and the situation and all those things. Can you distill that down into a statement that probably is on repeat? So for me with hockey, it was, I can't handle pressure. So high pressure situation comes up. My belief is that I can't handle that pressure. So then I go into the vicious cycle of behavior that means I don't handle the pressure, right? Maybe it's I'm not good enough, right? Maybe I'm not a good enough coach, or I'm not good enough at sales or whatever. I want you to come up with at least one that we can work through together, okay? I'm literally giving you coaching right now, so just do it. One belief, I'm not good enough, whatever it is, a statement, and then we're going to work through it. So these are the 4 questions that we're going to work through. It seems super simple. This comes from someone named Byron Katie, and it's literally called The Work. Damn right. Nice. So this is the basis of what we call self-inquiry work. Going inside, inquiring what's going on inside, okay? I had a client of mine, his name's Carl, he's a publisher. And he came to us and he was frustrated, his business was a little stalled out. And he didn't think he was a very good salesperson. Now, he sells, like publishers, he sells 10K packages, 25K packages, and 50K packages. But he had never sold a 50K package when he came to us. And we did a bunch of work, and what I said to him was, I'm going to have you do this, like the 4 questions, bust 1 belief per day for a week. Okay, so 1 belief that's not serving you, you're going to bust 1 belief per day for 1 week. Okay, and then you're going to find evidence that that belief is true, that new belief is true. Within 4 days, he made his first 50K sale. And he was on vacation. He took the call from like a hotel room. Okay? This stuff can quickly shift when you actually shift your beliefs. Okay, so your belief, put that at the top. I can't handle pressure. I'm not good enough, whatever it is. Question number 1, is this true? Okay? This is your opportunity to let your brain run wild and go, well, maybe it might be true because I have this evidence and this and this and this. I had this sales call didn't go well and this person asked for a refund and this and this and this, right? This is your opportunity to write all the reasons why it might be true. So is this true? Because I'm just going to smash it in a second. So Question number 2. This is the one that hits. Do you know this to be true without a shadow of a doubt? Like I said, our brains make it seem like it's a fact. Is it a fact? If there's any reasonable doubt, your answer should be no. Does anybody have any answer other than no to this question? Okay, good. I don't have to lay the smack down on anybody. So do you know this to be true without a shadow of doubt? No. So if you answered no, then can we agree that it's a belief that can be changed? Can I get some nods? You're all entering into the cult now. Yes, it is a belief that I can change. Okay? So what happens when you buy into this belief that's not serving you? What happens? What do you do? What do you not do? What you're probably going to figure out is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right? I believe this thing, therefore I do all these things that make this thing more likely to be true. And then we get more evidence, and then our brain goes, oh yeah, there's more evidence of that. There's more evidence, there's more evidence. Okay, and question 4, if you took notes, just change this out a little bit. I softened this question since I made this. What could happen if you chose to believe something different? If you just chose to believe something different, anything different, what could happen? Who could you be? Could you be the first millionaire in your family? Could you be a better partner, parent? Could you be more confident? Could you be a bigger part of your community because you can give back time and money? Who could you be? What could happen? Let's start thinking about that. Okay, now the last line right here is the most important part of this whole thing, okay? The truth is, I want you to come up with a belief that serves you better than the one that you had before. Now, it doesn't have to be the opposite, okay? Our subconscious brains are really good bullshit detectors, really good. So when I was like 23 years old and had no money in my bank account and I was looking in the mirror going, I am wealthy, I am rich, and my subconscious brain's like, bullshit, man, no you're not, you have no money. Okay? We need to find something that lands for us. So if you started with the opposite of your initial belief that wasn't serving you, do you need to soften it a little bit? Like I can, or I'm willing to believe, or I'm ready for, right? Maybe it's not your simple like I am good enough statement. Maybe it's an I'm willing to believe that I'm becoming better every day, right? Or something like that, right? We want an I am or an I can to start, but you may have to soften it. This should really land for you when you say it. Now, you might not get it today, but it's probably going to, if you're open to it, it's going to come over the next couple of days, a statement that serves you better, okay? And then, because. Give your brain evidence. So what evidence do you have from the past, ideally, specifically, and in your experience? What evidence do you have from the past? Now, if you can't think of any evidence whatsoever, is there anybody else that you have seen have this be true? Okay? I'll give you an example. As I was arriving here yesterday, one of my clients was texting me furiously because they were panicking because they had ads going live for the first time ever. Now, I don't profess to know anything about ads, but I know a lot about human psychology. And he said, well, I've never seen anyone have success with ads, and I know it's going to be really expensive, and I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm giving it a shot. That's not the best way to be coming into running ads, right? So we worked on it, and it turned out like he just had no evidence himself. So I said, have you ever seen anybody ever in the world have success with ads? Well, yes. Who? So he gave me like a couple of names. Okay, cool. So it's a belief then. It's not truth that ads are expensive and never work. Okay, yeah, I guess so. So we were able to shift it by him seeing that somebody else had done it. Okay? The because part is where it gets really, really powerful. Okay, so what evidence do you have from the past? And then your job, I'm going to give you a challenge moving forward, starting today. Whatever new belief you came up with, look for one piece of evidence, actively, consciously look for one piece of evidence per day that is true. Okay? So one of the things I'm working on right now is my money mindset. Okay, I'm doing the work too. All right. It's a pity Jack's not in here right now. So last night, me and a few of the guys from Charlie's team decided to go do a bit of gambling. Okay, went in Vegas. So I didn't have any American cash, Canadian kid coming down here, and they won't take that Monopoly money that we use. So Charlie borrowed me $40. And I was like, the first thing I said to him is, well, if I lose it, I'll PayPal you the money back. Not a good way to start my mindset on money, right? But I caught myself and I said, jokingly after dinner, I said, hey, when I win on that money, I'll give you that money back plus a bit of interest. And he's like, haha, funny story, Gav, that's great. So he gives me the $40, we sit down at the blackjack table, and I'm down to my last $10. It's $10 a hand. So I'm on my last hand and I win. So I'm like, well, I'm just gonna let it ride. So I put the money on top and I win again and I win again. And I kept winning. And I got up to $200, okay? Which is pretty, I'll take it, I'll take it. So I think it was $205 is what I ended up cashing out on chips. So we go to the cashier, and as we're walking over the cashier beside Jack, I give him a little nudge and I go, see, money is always coming to me. I'm a money magnet. And it seems silly and it seems insignificant, but this stuff matters. This stuff lands in your subconscious brain, the way you're talking to yourself. And I gave him his $40 back plus $5 interest, and I kept 160. Not bad. Not bad, right? But it was the fact I was able to shift that, because my initial thought, my unconscious was, well, I'll PayPal you or whatever when I lose it. But I was able to shift that belief. Okay? So when you're gambling tonight, remember, think positive thoughts, okay? There's Jack. I made him $5 last night. You're welcome. Okay, so we go through the 4 questions. We have our new belief, and we are now looking for evidence, okay? That is the most important thing. Your subconscious brain needs repetition and evidence. So if you can get that new belief and write it on a Post-it and put it up, right? What Charlie did was you put it on in your workstation and on your mirror, right? So the mirror in his bathroom, he put his new belief. So every morning when he looked at his mirror, he saw that new belief, right? Put it at his workstation. Put it on his, put it on your laptop, okay? Because then you're going to see it, and you're just indoctrinating yourself into the cult of this new belief. And then what I've done is put it in my phone as a reminder. Look for evidence. Right? We have to do this consciously until it can become unconscious, where we're just looking for evidence and we just are embodying a different being. Okay? Does that make sense, everybody? Do you guys have your marching orders? Okay, I want to leave you with this one last thing before I go. You probably heard this in Coach Carter, if you ever watched Coach Carter. It's amazing. It's an amazing movie. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Okay? It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. Okay? Your allowing your limiting beliefs to affect you does not serve the world. Nothing enlightened about shrinking so other people won't feel insecure around you. We are meant to shine as children do. And as we let our light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. Okay? As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. It's scary to do this work. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it feels like shit. Okay? But this is the work that's going to get you to the next place. You have the tactics. You have the strategies. You have all that stuff you need. Go deep into this work. This is where the effort belongs. I can promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. Okay? Thank you so much for letting me present this to you. I really appreciate it. If you have questions or anything like that, just let me know. I'll be around all day today and tomorrow. Okay? Thanks, guys.
One thing I'd add to what you said, Gavin, is I think it's really important to look at right goals and presentation, because if you're already choosing
Yes.
like that, what do you recommend for your colours? So you're like, I have achieved X, Y, Z for your colours, and you start to visit you like that, and you program it into where you've done it, so then you can do it, right?
Yeah, our brains only work in present tense. Okay, so if you say, I'm going to make $1 million, it just doesn't land. right? So if you can get into a vibration or a frequency where it's like, I have already made $1 million, right? This is what they call in the like quantum science or the mindset world as putting on the coat, right? You're putting on the coat of a millionaire, right? And walking around in it, trying on, see how it fits. That's what's going to allow you to get that result. And the quote, how many of you guys have heard the quote, I'll believe it when I see it, right? It's backwards. I'll see it once I believe it. Okay, so you have to actively and in the present tense believe it and speak it into existence to give yourself the opportunity to see it.
I think the funny thing is what I noticed, and that's very successful people, they don't talk about the future and they talk about the past. And if you have people that are basically talking, they're always talking about the past.
Yes, because we're living in our past. We're letting our past dictate our present, right? And Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you guys haven't heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, check him out. Trevor loves Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know where he's at right now, but Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about when you're not careful, your past will dictate your present, and this is why we go in these loops and these same cycles, right? This is why things don't change for us, no matter how much we logically and consciously want them to change, because we're living in the past. If you try on that coat and you speak the future as if it's already happened, you're going to allow yourself to create a new reality that you can step into. Is there any other questions on this work or clarifications people need? Or did I nail it that much?
What are the two biggest things that you see coaching life holding them back?
Oh, great question. Number one is the perfectionism and high performers mindset. Okay? I would say we are all high performers in this room. We consider ourselves high performers. I came in with what's called the athlete's mindset, win or lose. And this comes back to Charlie's first thing about the infinite game and the finite game. There's no, like, winning is not being perfect. Winning is continuing to play the game. And it never stops. Like, when you win in business, you're not done. The game's not over, right? So this mindset is one of the biggest ones I see, and what it leads to is perfectionism and procrastination and a lack of action. Because people are scared that their action is not the right action, or it's not the perfect action. So that's number one. And then the second one is just literally how hard people are on themselves. And they don't recognize that the amount of negative self-talk that their brain is constantly rattling off, right? And when you're beating the shit out of yourself mentally every day, it's really hard to continue to take consistent action. And Frank and I have had several discussions about, well, why is Frank so successful? And he comes up here and literally draws the exact blueprint for success on the whiteboard. Like, literally, this is what Frank is doing, what he drew on here. And so many people don't take action on it. It's because they don't feel they're worthy of the results Frank has, right? They beat themselves up every day, every time that there's a decision to be made. They're so hard on themselves. Give yourself a little grace and allow yourself to be messy. Those are definitely the two biggest things, and they both come from this like high performer wanting to perform and get external validation back, right? Does that make sense? Great question.
That's the way to look out negative spiral of people are sure. I think that's the way a lot of people struggle with these self-silence within ourselves.
Yeah, so to get out of the negative spiral, you need a circuit breaker. You need something to break that cycle, right? So we talked about these vicious cycles of behavior, and you probably have tons of them. I know I have lots of them that maybe you're not even aware of yet, and they continue to happen in different ways, okay? What you need is a circuit breaker. You need something to break that cycle. Generally, the best thing is a person to tell you you're being stupid. This is not right, right? You need someone to shift your perspective, right? But another thing would be so if you don't have access to your coach to just call them all the time, is can you take a different action than you would normally take in that situation, right? So perfect example, I think one of the things that Charlie and I were originally talking about was your frustration when people didn't do things right? On your team or whatever. This was a while ago, guys. So his current team, don't worry, guys, okay? But it's like if someone doesn't do something the way Charlie wants it, he gets frustrated, he lets it affect his day, or even if a client like doesn't do the things they say they're going to do, right? And so he gets frustrated and then falls in this spiral of anger that's not serving him. Well, can you just change so instead of like, okay, the thing happens and then I'm now like writing angry emails, well, can you just go for a walk? Like, can you just create some separation between the trigger and the response? If you can create some separation there, right, that's the same thing as the circuit breaker. We're changing the pattern around what's going on in your brain, right? Because our habits, our patterns, it'll be like, this happens, then this, then this, then this, and then somehow I've sent 10 angry emails and everyone's pissed off. What if this happens, then I go for a walk, and then it changes the response to that thing? Or whatever, just do a little breathing, get into a different environment, go do something different, right? Set yourself up for success by just creating some space. Guys at the back have great questions. Anyone up here?
Any questions?
Guys are just hungry.
Yes,
Yeah?
question. How do you change your belief, like when you start to have people underneath you, like coaches and BAs and stuff, and you've never been in that like managerial whatever role, and you kind of feel like you're out of place, like you didn't come from, nothing about business or previous businesses or anything like that, so you're just kind of in an uncomfortable situation where you don't know exactly what to do in that sense.
I always like to go back, so when it comes to something like this, when you were growing up, I would imagine, and this is kind of for everybody, that you thought your parents knew everything, right? I know I did. And since you've grown up, what have you learned? They didn't really know much of anything. They were just trying to figure it out as they went, okay? This is your standard imposter syndrome. I don't belong here. I'm not good enough to be here. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing, right? So when you have imposter syndrome, it's really hard to believe something when you don't have any evidence of it being true, right? But this is the entrepreneurial paradox of the human condition, is we need to believe in things before we have evidence of them being true, right? This is what faith is, believing in something that you don't know, you don't know for certain that it's real, right? So how can we reverse engineer this is what I was saying about, okay, so you don't have any evidence in this context of you being a leader or being a good boss or whatever it is. So you don't have any of that proof. But do you have proof elsewhere in your life, like maybe you were on a sports team, or maybe, even in school where you were like the ringleader of something? Do you have that level of proof? And then going to another, so in another context, do you have proof of that, the thing of like, I can be a leader or I can direct people or whatever it is? Do you have proof there? And then do I have proof that someone else has figured it out? Like, do you think Charlie had like a manual before he started business, right? He's just figured it out. Frank's just figured it out, right? So you have proof that other people have figured it out as well and become relatively good bosses and good people to work for. So now we have a little bit of evidence that we can see that this is doable. So can I just follow the yellow brick road on the path that they've taken and put one foot in front of the other, right? So it's a matter of essentially, you're brainwashing yourself either way, essentially brainwashing yourself and giving yourself some form of evidence that this is possible. That make sense? Helpful? Cool. 100%. I like to say it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? The same wolf's going to keep showing up. The same belief is going to keep showing up in different places, right? And it's going to keep dressing differently. And you're like, oh, that's that same belief that I had before. It's just showing up differently. And the hope, though, is that every time we're going to be at that, like a higher level, right? New levels, new devils, right? So it's going to show up here, right? So let's say when you first start building your business, it's going to show up like, oh, I don't have the skills. I'm an imposter. I'm not good enough. But then you build the skills, and then you get into you have a team, and you go, well, I'm no good. I'm an imposter. I'm not good enough to have the team. And then it's like, Now we have multiple people on our team. Oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. Now they're managing people. Oh, I'm not good enough, I can't, right? These things keep popping up in different places. And actually, we should chase that. We want that, because that every time that you're uncomfortable and that pops back up, that means that you're getting to a new place and a new level. And the universe or life is always going to teach you the same lessons until you actually learn them. Okay? So it's going to keep showing up. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something to be aware of, that you didn't just do this thing today and work through those 4 questions and go, I'm done. I'm done with that one. I'll see you guys later. I'm good, right? No, it's going to keep showing up, and actually you're going to keep getting opportunities to learn from it, right? Because now you're more aware of it. And the piece that I actually forgot, so thank you for the reminder, is when we become aware of these things. Have you guys heard of the reticular activating system in your brain? You want to buy a new car, you see the new car everywhere. I say, think about how does your left big toe feel? Now everyone's thinking about their left big toe, right? Your reticular activating system tells you what to focus on, right? There's too much going on in the world, so our brains go, only focus on this, this, and this, right? So when we change the belief and when we start looking for evidence, now we're looking for evidence of that new thing, that new belief to be true, right? So we need to continue looking for evidence, and then we're going to start seeing other opportunities to learn from that, right? So the same belief or the same issue is going to keep showing up, and we're going to have to work through it. So it's giving us opportunities because we're aware of it now. We've turned the light switch on in the room. We can see the mess. Cool?
What would you say to you if you had someone had employees who were doing tomorrow?
Someone had employees that what?
Or in like a negative tomorrow to try and take that out?
I mean, yeah, so if the employee is, we always are, what I'm always looking for in people, and this is where like, you don't have to be like you don't have to be like certified or anything to do this stuff. If you're doing this work, you can help other people do this work. And so I'm always looking for places where someone's reaction is inappropriate for the actual problem, right? So like this little thing is not working and they fly off the handle, right? That's an inappropriate response or reaction. So I recognize, okay, there's probably something going on here. And that's when you just need to have a conversation with them. Whenever something like this happens with an employee, or for me, like with a client, okay, this is your opportunity to ask lots of questions. So I would say the best thing to do on the whole, get curious when you're noticing that happens. Like, hey, I noticed that you're pretty frustrated about this thing, or I noticed that you're having a tough time when this happens. Can you tell me more about that? What's going on? What's frustrating you? Why is that frustrating you? Why is this happening? And then you're going to allow them to pull those beliefs out of themselves. And that's the point you can go like, hey, do you think that belief about yourself is serving you? Is it helping you? Obviously, they're going to say no. And then you can allow them to say, well, is there something that could serve you better, right? Essentially, it's just like asking enough questions to allow someone to recognize that this is a them issue, right? This is their beliefs holding them back and not serving them.